When you're building the cross, there's often no need to match the side colors of the cross to their correct centers until the very last step. More often than not, these cross pieces can be solved correct relative to each other, and then the cross is aligned at the very end. To show what I mean, I'll go through a quick example. So this was just a random hand scramble, and we can see the cross pieces here, so green, orange, blue, and red. So in this case, I'm going to ignore the centers and I'm going to solve the cross pieces correct relative to each other. So green can go in like this, orange and blue, and notice how these three colors, if I do align them, they are correct relative to each other. But in this case I still have red, so before I align them I could put red in like this and then align them at the very end. So this gives you more freedom when you're building the cross and can help you come up with more efficient solutions. Solving pieces together is another great way of reducing the number of moves you have to do for the cross. So here we have the most basic case where we have the blue cross piece here and red is just here above it. So this is a very nice relationship because notice how if we insert blue like this, we can insert red like this as well. And just like that, we've inserted two cross pieces in place and they are correct relative to each other. Here I'll be going through an example of how you can solve pieces together. So for this scramble we have blue, red, orange and green. So green's already in position, so I noticed that orange is lined up to its center. That's not really important, but in this case it is. So what we could do is align green to its center, so that way when we put orange in, we know that that's it, that's the correct place. Now we have blue and red. So blue goes to the opposite of green, so blue can go here, but that's not opposite to green. So what we can do is put green on the other side, that way we could insert blue and red like this. And that's that trick that I taught earlier when you insert multiple pieces at the same time. And then finally, align, and the cross should be correct relative to each other. So it's also very important that you know the color scheme. So what I mean by that is know the colors, what order the colors are going to be in as you go around the cube. And now the importance of that is that when you're inspecting for the cross, you don't want to be constantly comparing the cross pieces to the center pieces. That does take a lot of time, and unfortunately we only have 15 seconds to inspect for the cross. So you want to get to a point where when you just look at the cross pieces, you know the best way to set them up correct relative to each other. So here's a scramble where it would be really inefficient if you constantly compared the cross pieces to the center pieces. As you can see, we have the cross pieces here, and really I'm just going to ignore the centers because it's going to be all over the place anyway. So I'm going to just look at the pieces by itself. So I know that orange, if I put orange here, then blue has to be in this position, red would have to be in this position, and green would have to be here. So I'm not even looking at the centers. I know how the pieces are going to be placed relative to each other. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I'm going to put orange first, blue has to go here, so I'm going to put blue exactly there. Now I can put green, correct there, and then finally red, like this. And that way I basically ignore the centers until the very end when I align the cross, because that gives me more freedom during the cross, and it also saves me time because I don't have to constantly compare with the centers if my cross pieces were correct or not. So when you're inspecting for the cross, you want to be able to plan out as much of the cross as you can. And you at least have to be able to plan the entire cross, but in case you're not up to that level yet, you want to try and plan as many cross pieces as you can. So a lot of people starting out, maybe you can only plan 2 cross pieces, but that's perfectly fine. So my tip, if you can only plan 2 pieces, plan out 2 opposite pieces. So either that be red and orange, or you could plan out blue and green. Because that way when you set up pieces opposite to each other, even if you get the other 2 pieces incorrect, you can fix them easily with M2U2 M2. Whereas if you get 2 adjacent pieces incorrect, that's a lot harder to fix. So in this case, if I was to plan out maybe 2 cross pieces, I could put I noticed that red and orange would be set up pretty easily, so I could just do that, and that could be all I plan. But that's alright, because now I can just look ahead to other cross pieces. So here we have green here, and then blue, like that. So plan out as much as you can. Try and get 2, 3 cross pieces, and then the ultimate goal is to be able to plan the entire cross during inspection. So final tip is also something that I personally need to improve on as well, and this is cross finger tricks. So more often than not, when I finish the cross, my fingers are probably in a pretty bad position to start F2O. So just by changing which face you do the cross can change how good the finger tricks are. So in this case, I noticed that if I sort of do the cross at the back, the finger tricks are much better because I could start out by aligning green by doing this move here like this. Then I can insert blue and orange like this, and finally red can be done with my thumb like that. So now my thumbs were pretty much on the front layer, so in home grip, and this is the grip where you want to try and end up in, because during F2O you want to be able to start in the home grip, and it also helps with look ahead as well. So now I'm going to do some cross example solves to try and show you guys how I would implement these tips in an actual solve. So in this case we have red, green, blue and orange here. So notice that if I set up green like this, then I can insert green and red together like this. Blue can be set up at the back here, and then finally I'll do this finger trick here with my ring finger and then insert orange like this. And that way my thumbs end up in home grip, which is the correct grip that you want to start F2O in. So for this scramble we have green, blue, orange and red here. So this cross is kind of all over the place, but we'll see how it goes. So what I could do here, I noticed that orange is in position, so I can put blue in pretty easily like this, and now I have green and red left. So if I insert them individually, then that would take quite a lot of moves. Instead, what I could do is set up green so that when I insert green with my R2 here, then red can be set up like this. And that way I can align, and that makes the cross quite efficient. So for this scramble, we have green, orange, red and blue here. So what I could do is notice that when I insert green, that moves orange out, but orange would be set up correct relative to green, which is good. So I'll insert green first, then orange. Now I have blue and red here. So what I could do, instead of moving the actual pieces away, I could just move the D layer. So I move here and then put blue in, then move blue over and then put red in. And so that creates the cross correct relative to each other. And it also solved this F2O pair as well, which is also quite nice. So for this scramble, we notice that red and orange are here, blue and green are here. So notice how easily red and orange can be set up opposite to each other. But before I do that, I noticed that if I move blue up here first, then when I insert blue, then red and orange would also be set up opposite to each other. And that way, I've basically solved 3 cross pieces at the same time. And then finally, with the green cross piece, just move it over and put it down into its correct position. And that's it for this cross. So for the final cross, I have orange sort of in place, red, green and blue here. So in this case, this is not really a really good cross. So I can move orange over first. So I can insert blue and if I move orange in like this, then I could insert green into its correct position. But before I insert green, I notice that blue is over here. So when I insert blue, when I insert green, notice that blue gets attached to its correct center. And then red is over here, attached correctly as well. So all I have to do is align the cross like this, then put red and blue in like that. And that solves this cross. So those were some of the tips that I used back when I was trying to improve my cross. I hope you guys found this helpful as well. And of course I didn't mention in this video, but a lot of good practice is really important for improving your cross. If you're not up to the stage where you can plan the entire cross, I recommend that you do take upwards of 15 seconds to plan the cross, because it is really important to be able to plan as much as you can and then add the time limit in. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.